folks, we're going to start right now. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is April 3rd, 2023, and it is 7:54. Tim, could you give the information?
Sure. I'll read them out. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Lord, I pray that you speak with us during this meeting, help us have full heads and make good decisions for this county, Lord. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Short and quick.
Okay, I would like, without objection, I would like to add one item, find it to the agenda, and it would be item D, a new business, and it's the Hendersonville Health Department. I will explain it when we get to that. That would be new business D, 990, sorry. Could I have a motion to approve? Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Approval of the minutes. Get a motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Report from the chairman. Commissioner Brown and I had a meeting at the Cottontown Church of Christ. We were trying to get a feel for the members of that church, how they felt about what was happening in Cottontown, and most of them were not aware of the FEMA program. They weren't very knowledgeable about anything. What I would say is when they asked what happened to the school, what happened to the general store, they were saddened and sorry that it happened, and would not have been in favor of it. I say that just to say that some of those people were born in Cottontown and they were in their 70s. And all that to say that they were saddened by what has transpired there, which kind of gave me renewed vigor to say what we have left. And so I know that we voted to keep the Draper House last month, and I'm glad we did, because that seems to be the sentiment of the people there. I was also one of the 4 last commissioners to do the walk of the courthouse with Chairman Hyde, Terry Boyd, and Danny Sullivan. And it's quite a structure, and it's moving along well. They believe they're still on target to finish and be moving in December to January. However, a little disappointed to find out that probably the parking structure will not be finished until maybe May. Is that what they said, Chairman Hyde? So we're going to be 3, 4, maybe even 5 months really hard parking downtown Gallatin. It's nothing that can be done. It's kind of a sign of the times. It took them maybe a little more time to get all of the costs renewed so that we could get the best deal possible. But things are ordered now, and so it'll be moving ahead. But we have that to look forward to. So, that is all I have on the report of the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Sure.
When you say we voted, who was we?
For which?
You said that...
For the Draper House.
Correct, yes.
It was this committee.
When did that happen?
It happened last, we voted to keep the Draper House.
I think that was in legislative.
Was that legislative?
Which leads to another question, why would legislative make decisions on county property?
Probably because it was legal, it was tied up with the grant issue, and they had to make that legally. It's like
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I know it was voted on. I'm in too many committees.
Right.
And I get them confused. Do you remember, Mr. Hyde?
don't, I really don't. I'm in favor of keeping the Draper House personally. I mean,
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah,
I don't remember the circumstances.
I know some committee last month did approve it.
Legislative.
Was it legislative? Is that right? Okay, thank you. Legislative, I'm on that committee too, so I guess we's an appropriate word. Okay, we have a report from the mayor, but he's not here, so we'll get... Is he here?
Do you want him?
Sure. You're up. PowerPoint up.
Is it possible to move on to the next item tonight? Is that okay? I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, we could do recognition of the public. Mike Bear, please come up and state your name and your address.
Mike Bear, 103 Stoddard Street, Gallatin. And what's nice, because this is all brand new to me.
Okay.
Half an hour.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. I had
Right.
anticipated following up on the mayor's remarks, but I'm here tonight as a representative of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 240 here in Sumner County. Many of you folks, hopefully all of you, will be familiar with the Veterans Park, which is just right out here. Since the beginning of that park in about the late 80s, maybe early 90s, the Vietnam Vets Chapter 240 has been involved in upkeep, minor improvements that we could afford all along, and funding a pretty good amount of this stuff that's happened there. I doubt that we funded that beautiful tall granite line with the names of the 25 Sumner County KIA, so I think that the county must have been involved. But we don't have so much history to tell you about that, but we can tell you about what's going on there today. In addition to the tall granite line, we have the Wall of Honor, which is a big long wall over this way that has the names of veterans, Sumner County veterans and now others who have served in the time in service in their branch. Some of those go back to pre-World War I, the one or two of them like that, and then we're all the way up to modern conflicts that we're all unfortunately familiar with. Those bricks are made available at a certain price by the chapter, and we make a little bit of money, not much. There's been times when we haven't made any to have those manufactured and installed. Then there's the supporters wall along next to the parking lot, a low wall about like this, a retaining wall, where people who are entities, business entities, for example, that want to support that park and purchase a brick or a sidewalk paver that's just in front of it. Those are some of the sources of income, but there's not much left over after we contract the work. We're not doing that to make a profit, we're doing that to recognize veterans. So there's no big effort to make a profit on that. Basic upkeep of the park from its beginning has been through the volunteer efforts of the Vietnam Vets of America, Chapter 240. We do it on a volunteer basis. We do fundraising to come up with the funds that we need to do that basic upkeep that we've been able to do pretty much all along and are doing now. There are some immediate needs that the mayor is going to address, and I hesitate to get too much into that because he's going to, you can overhear, I expect what he'll have to say, and then maybe I can reserve a minute or two afterward if it seems necessary. Would that be all right? Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. David Rooney.
Good evening, I'm David Mooney, 971 Cherry Grove Avenue, Cherry Grove Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I am the Senior Vice Commander of VFW Post 9851. I'm a member of the Vietnam Veterans Chapter, a member of the Military Officers Association, I'm a member of the American Legion. I've also served as the Sumner County Veterans Council Chairman, for a number of years, which involves all that. I'm also the District 4 commander for the VFW, which involves the 2 VFW posts in Westmoreland and Hendersonville in Sumner County. So I've been very involved with all the veterans organizations in our county. This memorial stands and represents the 14,000 veterans that reside in Sumner County. And so we ask that you can provide the funds necessary to maintain that so that it is a place of honor, place of dignity, a place of respect for our veterans to come and be with their other veterans and for their families to come and pay their respects to their loved ones who may have given their life for this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Finnegan?
Good evening, Tracy Finnegan, 737 Shun Pike in Cotton Town. And thank you for your vote in the legislative committee, now that we're clear, to save the Draper House. So I'm here to represent Cotton Town Community Center, Inc. And who's here that wants to save the Draper House? Raise your hand. Okay, they're shy, they don't like to speak, they'll come to potlucks, they'll come to history days. So I'm here to speak for everyone that just raised their hand, to say that we've been working hard for 6 months, since the community center was demolished. It brought us together, it's why we're here, it's why we've been at all these meetings. And again, we've had potlucks, history days, we've met, the board, we've structured and restructured anything that we need to do to save this property, to save what's left. We're here we couldn't save the community center, so we want to right that wrong. So I received notification about 4 days ago, this is on the agenda, and so we've been on the phone, we've been meeting, what can we do? And so we are willing to just in the past 4 days, we have commitments for well over the $2,000, or that's the number for this roof, right? I went through the roof, through the building myself, right before you guys were going to lock it up. I thought we had a contractor come through, we had a couple things lined up, let's go do that. The roof in the back is caved in. Heartbreaking to look at, and the reality is that was an additional structure, an addition that was added onto the structure, and the Draper House is a solid building. It may not be the most historic building in Sumner County. It means a lot to the people of Cotton Town. Our plans are a visitor, welcome center, and the rooms you talk about, one could be the cotton room, and just our history day. It has so much, this could be archives for all the history. Our historians handwrite stuff, they don't do stuff on computers, so we're going to have things posted and just these manual archives, and we thought the Draper House would be the perfect place for this, to know that Cotton Town wants to save the Draper House, and Cotton Town is going to put their time, their effort, and their money where their mouth is, and we so appreciate you guys being behind us and backing us. So I'm here to represent everyone here, and all the people that we talked to that couldn't come, that, it was a little short notice, that we do want to save the Draper House. If it means they're going to hire a contractor to fix the roof, I understand maybe also sort of to, secure the building, board it up, whatever, the windows and doors. If we need to hire someone, we're perfectly willing to hire a bonded contractor to meet all those criteria. If you guys want to hire someone, we have someone volunteering, roofing material, whatever you want, you tell us, and the community's going to pull it together. So that's what we're here for, to say yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak before I close this part of it? Okay. Mr. Mayor, you're up.
All right, this is something they came and talked to me about. If y'all remember the Travel Consistency Fund, we got $100,000 for that, and I was supposed to bring back some projects. This is one of them that I would like to see with that fund. And basically what we have 3 different problems there that we're working on. One is the Veterans Memorial Wall, the other one's the main flagpole, and then the third one's water irrigation. It's kind of hard, you can see each one of those seams is separating. There's several seams.
Right there.
Yeah, all the way down. and it's along that wall. So we've got an engineer that looked at it, put together a plan, and then we've got bids based on that. The structural engineer's report, which, this is basically what they're saying needs to be done. They believe the footing's adequate to support the walls. We don't have to do anything with the footing. They believe that weep posts should be added, the existing cap should be removed, and material installed to prevent water from entering. A bond beam should be installed at the top of the wall, stopping at the expansion joints and doweled at the control joints. And then the subway bricks and limestone can be coated with a masonry sealer that is color matched to prevent moisture intrusion going forward. And these are 4 bids that we got. And you can see Ocean was the highest, and USS was the best at 21.1.
That's for everything.
That's for that wall, yes.
Okay.
Now, moving on to the main flagpole, it's got a small flagpole back there. We want to increase that to a commercial grade, 35-foot tapered flagpole. And one of the key features is that it has an internal halyard system, and what that does means the roping is on the inside. So that lasts longer, and it makes it easier to raise and lower the flags. Also includes 6x10 American flag, and I always like to throw this in when I can, 100% American made. So, and that cost is estimated about $6,000. That includes getting it installed. So, you know, obviously we'd have to pour some concrete and some of those things. I think we can do all that internally, but it will cost a little bit more than the actual flagpole.
Mr. Mayor, do you know how tall the existing flagpole is right now?
20 feet.
20 feet, okay, thanks.
And then the last one is some water irrigation. Basically what we're doing, they've got a garden on the other side of that sidewall, and we're just extending the irrigation to better accommodate that garden. And we're doing all that internally, and so guys will take care of it, and the cost of materials really isn't very significant on that. Just running the line, and we will have to tear up that sidewalk and re-pour it, but again, we'll do that ourselves. And like I said at the beginning, funding source, this was coming from that grant from the local assistance and tribal consistency fund that has already been awarded. And the grant, it gives us a broad scope of use in the community, and the only limitation is using the funds for lobbying purposes. So this project fits within their guidelines. So I'm requesting $28,000 from the budget committee next week, should the general operations committee deem this a worthy project for our veterans. That's all I got.
I have a question about this. Is there any actual pictures of the park on that?
No, it's right outside the door.
I just, for public knowledge, I've been coming to this building for years. I mean, since I've been here, I had no idea there was a park over there, and I don't know what the park is used for. Somebody could speak more about what it's used for. I heard that there's a memorial there. I didn't see the memorial, but like, who goes there, how often, what is this used for?
I can tell you, Commissioner Boyd invited me the 4th of July.
I had no idea.
It was great.
I'd like to learn more about this park before we vote on something like that. You know, why was it named after another veterans park in the same county? And why this money was not looked at during the procurement of the committee set up for all the other nonprofits and things like that. Why was this not looked at? This is like a worthy cause for our veterans, so.
I'll try to answer your last question first. The deterioration of that big wall was just very recently, the last couple of months, observed. probably due to the terrible cold snap that I was out of state, but it occurred around Christmas time when we had that 50-degree swing. There's moisture in that wall. That's a big issue.
Is it a retaining wall?
No, it's a wall, it's a wall as tall as this. I guess it's a couple 100 feet long, it's in sections, and on that wall are individual bricks engraved with the name of veterans, men and women, going back to before World War I up to the present. And we provide, or we, the public, with their donations to make those bricks possible. So that's something that doesn't happen at all in my mind at the other Veterans Park, which is a great thing and to be respected as well. To me, it's a place that's a little more solemn. There's a giant, great big granite monument there that has 25 names on it of all the people that were killed in Vietnam from Sumner County, for example, and all the other KIAs to all other world wars from the people that were killed in Sumner County, and that doesn't exist at the other park. So it's a little more, maybe you could say, a little more purposeful and a little more meaningful to veterans than some veterans parks that are more broadly put together and designed might be. So all that money is something we just found out about. The flag we need, you said you didn't know it was there. Sadly, I worry that most people don't know that it's there. And one of the ways that we can correct that is that flagpole with the 6x10 American flag. I think when that gets put up, people are going to drive in here and they're going to see it because they won't be able not to. And we do what we can to promote it. We invite Boy Scout troops to come there, for example, and Girl Scout troops as well, Cubs, and give little presentations about patriotism and the cost of freedom and so on. We have an annual Memorial Day event. The mayor will be speaking at that this year. That brings about 350 Sumner County citizens to participate in. We have some really good speakers. Last year we had a famous actress, why can't I think of her name from, I tell you, famous, Jennifer O'Neill, thank you. She came to speak to us this year, a lovely young lady that was in Vietnam as a kid during the time that we were there, and she's going to share her thoughts. The mayor's going to speak, others will speak. We have a flyover, but there are a lot more things we could do with that park when more people get to know about it, and we need to work on that as veterans, but in my judgment, so does the county need to work on that. Or so I would like to suggest that the county could work on that, maybe feature it in some local county literature and so on. I think it's a jewel in the crown of the county, but it just needs a little polishing, and that's what the mayor's proposing exactly. But if we don't save that wall, stop that section of that wall from leaning, that's what's going on, just put it in sections. We're done.
How long has that wall been?
Since about 1991, but added in sections. Eventually tying the sections together is one of the recommendations to stabilize it. That's the purpose of it. Anything else? Be happy to.
Like, who goes there now? Veterans go there, is there benches to sit on and reminisce and just, you know?
I was there a year and a half ago, I mean on a Sunday morning, and there were three ladies whose names I couldn't possibly tell you. I probably introduced myself to them there. They're from the local Sunday school class, and they say they come there because they like the feeling that's in the place. It means something to them. And I think it would do that for just about anybody that wants to do it kind of with an open mind. But we do need to get more people knowing about it and get more people there. It's a great place. It can touch your heartstrings just to look at that big monument and read those names of those people that died for our freedom. That's right.
Well, I'm not against this, but I think if we're going to vote for something like this, we do need to promote it and do something with it, because otherwise it's...
Well, I know one way to get everybody in this room over there. The oldest name in that wall is Chairman Hyde's great-aunt.
Yep.
Molly Hyde, from the Civil War.
Wow.
She was a spy.
I think if you raised the blind, you would see the photo.
Huh?
Is it okay if I take it? Is it okay if I-
Yeah, I'll suspend the rules for a second.
I know that when my husband and I come here to pay bills or, get our tag renewed, we very often go to the park and read the names of his friends that he lost at Vietnam, and it is a very special monument, I think. It needs to be taken care of. And it is where all of us have to come at one time or another, and we should be going through it when we come.
Thank you. So, anyway, I can go find Molly Hyde's brick. I know exactly where it is.
You'll find it, I never knew that.
I would entertain a motion. Oh, that's right, we're not there. That was, okay, that was the report from the mayor. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. I want to change it. Okay.
Dave, just, you notice when we walked over there looking, there were many bridge ships. And I'm just wondering what can be done about that also.
At a cost of about $70 a piece, we can replace the brick, have it removed from the new brick. And we've done several, and we're gonna have to do more. What we don't know is why that's happened. Whether it's vandalism, somebody said supersonic hailstones, just jokingly. I don't know. But you're absolutely right, we need to attend to that. And I would hope that Vietnam Vets Chapter can deal with many of those kinds of minor things with our funds. Fundraising.
I have a question, Kim.
Why do you make that? You know what, let's move on to the agenda, and then we'll ask all the questions, but if we need these gentlemen to come back, so, gentlemen, you can sit down if you'd like to, or you can stand. All right, old business. Archive building repair status, an explanation of current status and progress on final scope. If you remember last month, we had decided to postpone this a month for me to get some numbers, and I did. And what I was looking for was what was the best material to put on the parapet wall, which is, those of you who don't know what a parapet wall is, it's the vertical wall inside, and then there's a mansard roof, which is what you see. So, Commissioner Moss and I determined that that was probably the biggest spot. I don't know in effect if it was now, because I called there today and there's still no leaks. They've had no leaks even with this weekend. But it's still a mess. That vinyl siding is done. And so what I was trying to see was what was the best material to use. And should we go back with some sort of a siding, or should we go back with the actual roofing material that we have up there, which is called EPDM? And it's usually good for about 50 years. I wanted to see how close the prices were. And it's not totally apples for apples, because the roofing contractor who proposed the EPDM has a price of $31,739, but he is including the sheet metal, a new sheet metal cap. The gentleman who proposed it's kind of it's called LP Smart siding product, which is a cementitious siding that would be about $25,000, but he's not replacing the 45 vents, and he's not replacing the sheet metal cap. So the other thing that we would need to decide that would probably ultimately affect this price is, do we want to keep the handrail, which is a mess right now, or do we want to remove it? That would be a separate cost. I think whoever removed it would be able to recycle the steel and maybe some of the handrail, since it's a composite, it's not wood. But it would be a lot of cleaning up for somebody to do that, and I don't know if they wouldn't just haul it off to the dump. So,
That one's different than this one?
it's totally different. This is aluminum on this roof, and that is a composite, fake wood. So, that's that's the update on that. And so, depending on what the demolition is going to cost, and I have no idea, but when I was speaking with David Loing today, he said, well, you know, get us a specification, and they will get quotes on it, estimates, and then we can determine if it needs an architect to review it, which would be an extra cost. That's right, the way it works, right, John? And so, I guess we have to decide, do we keep the handrail or not? Do we remove all that stuff? It would be my suggestion that we stay with the EPDM. I think it'll be much more durable. It won't require repainting. It'll be glued to the plywood up there. So I would, at this point, ask if anybody's got any questions. Or let me make a motion to start discussion on it. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Are we gonna, discuss and ultimately vote on whether we want to get a quote without handrails? Handrails, is that where this is going?
I think we should leave that. I think the Ms. Norfleet does a really good job of that, and she could go after that in conjunction with law.
I'm saying, if we voted unanimously or whatever to get rid of the handrails, that's the most quote we have to get. Just be done with that, let's move the ball forward.
Well, not everybody who does that siding would do the demo of the handrail, so I think we're gonna be at 2 quotes anyway. So I think what we should do as a committee is decide what we wanna do, and then vote on that, and then we'll hand it over to Kim Norfleet.
Question on the handrail and removal, is that something a local or maintenance department could go out?
No, I don't think so.
It needs a crane.
Okay.
It's a big job.
Okay.
Big job. All that
I'd make
steel
it
that's
do it.
mounted,
Yeah.
all that steel that it's mounted on is upside down C-channel, and it's gotta be cut in place because it was welded in place. It's a big job.
Okay. And I'd like to just make a motion to remove the handrail.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Let's make that the second.
Yeah.
Maybe make a decision.
Yeah, could I amend that? Let's go with the EPDM roofing. That will include the new sheet metal top, new vents, and remove the handrail.
I accept that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We got some direction.
Yeah.
We got the ball moving.
Okay.
So we'll be moving this to budget?
We'll be moving it to budget once Kim Norfleet gets prices on it. And John, you'll do it. Or I can...
Yeah, what we'll do, if it's okay with the committee, I think, we'll have some estimates, you know, and then we will allocate up to, and we still have to go through that process, so it's not like we'll say, okay, we got $100,000, we're gonna spend $100,000. We're still gonna go through the bid based on what you're looking for. Yeah.
But we'll like your estimates.
So, yeah.
So we're going to just keep this old business in?
I would move it to budget. I mean, otherwise, it's the same thing.
Yeah, let's remove it. So,
I'll get some
for our portion of it. Okay, great. Okay, new business, renovations to Veterans Park, which we just went through. Are there,
I'll make a motion to approve, and we can discuss all of that.
okay, you make a motion to approve in a second, Terry. All in favor?
For those guys.
Well, he's making a motion.
It's second, so we can discuss.
We can discuss, and then we vote for it. If we don't like the motion, then we can...
I don't think we have to vote this.
No, we don't.
No, okay, all right. So, discussion.
So, no, you had one first, then I'm next. Sure. Yep.
My only question is, being transparent, I appreciate the mayor between committee meeting and wanting to try to beat you up, verbally. There was one bid for a flag wall. I just wanted to become familiar with why the cost is so high. Maybe I looked it up, it looks like one of the better ones compared to what's out there. My only question is, why do we have 4 bids for one thing, but one bid for another? That's not saying something.
No, I can print off those bids, that's fine.
It just, my.
Was that the low bid?
That's the best bid.
Is that the best bid?
Yeah.
I only bring that up because if there were additional repairs or something, you know, maybe we could free up capital, for that. That's the only reason why I was asking.
All right.
I just don't want this to, I know sometimes it can kind of seem political, and I don't want to make this political, I'm only asking, but if this is the best bid in the interest of bringing up more capital, should there be additional repairs? I fully support it, if that's the best bid, then let's go with it, but that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, you would bring it up to budget.
And we've got to go through all that process anyway.
Yeah, we will just be saying, that's our property, is general lots, do we want to go ahead and move forward on it? And in full knowledge, the budget could deny it, so, or the whole commission could deny it. So, Tim?
Could you speak a little bit, Mr. Mayor, about the internal road design, the internal pool design? I'm sure that's a more costly style, probably the better style, but why would we go with that versus a traditional external one like we see on the schools and all the other things, community benefits?
Well, one, it's easier, the police station's easier to work. 2, it lasts longer. So if we're looking at long term, we know the aluminum's gonna last. But with this mechanism, it makes the internal components and the roads last longer as well.
Have we looked at the cost differential between the old style that, I mean, we have kids at elementary schools pulling up flags. So, I mean, if there's not much difference in cost, it's no big deal. But if it is a significant amount, it's my job to ask those questions.
Absolutely. And I'll be happy to research that further and have a regular budget meeting.
Okay.
If y'all push it, budget.
And then the other question I had was, so somebody else built this wall back in the 90s, and it's falling apart, and bricks are chipping and need to be replaced 30-something years after the fact. For longevity's sake, did we look into the company that we got the quotes for to get some guarantees that this is going to be fixed the last time? The Great Wall of China's been around for a long time. The walls last. This isn't supporting anything for itself, and it's falling apart.
Right, and I think the problem stemmed from the fact that they add sections, and they just weren't properly maintained, and weren't properly tied together. And that's what we're fixing here, which will bring that longevity, and if we add another one, then make sure that it's tied.
Done the right way.
The right way.
If that company is going to stand behind us for the long run, not just give a 5-year guarantee on their product, because the memorial's supposed to stand the test of time, right? I mean, it needs to be there for longer than 30 years before it starts falling apart.
Absolutely.
And the bricks, we got to get that answered too, because replacing a brick in the middle of a wall doesn't sound very good.
Has anybody spoken to the brick manufacturer of why those things might be chipping?
The bricks are a masonry product, obviously, and then there's a veneer, a ceramic. And there's a template, a rubber template placed on the brick, and then it's sandblasted to provide the information, the name and service, branch of service and so on. The ceramic material is a little delicate, but that's what, as far as I know, that's what's used, because that's what they can best work with and make nice, clean, straight lines. And if you can imagine, if it were thicker, it would be the ceramic material would be more difficult to work with. Some of the things we're dealing with, we're pretty confident can be mitigated by just some waterproofing. major issue out there, and the mayor will tell you, a major issue out there is the ingress of water.
It sounds like an imitation marble, with the ceramic overlay on the bridge. And if that's not the most robust solution, maybe look for something in the future.
After the meeting, could I just, or I can give you a card and see what I can talk to the people.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
That's
Sure.
I'd like to question them on it and see if there's an alternative. Thank you very much.
Keep in mind, though, that there are about 2,000 bricks already installed,
Right.
2,000 names on them, where
Right.
our citizens,
Right.
and hopefully you could get something that looked the same issue. But absolutely, yes.
Yeah, well, my thinking is, we're gonna be still putting more bricks in probably.
You bet.
Let's make sure they're more durable.
Yes, amen to that.
Okay. Questions? Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Wes, you, to move forward with sending it to budget. And we had a second in Terry Moss. We're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, architectural report for Sumner County Jail. I put this up here for you, Mr. Mayor.
That's fine, yeah, we're 2 weeks out.
Before we have prices from all the architects.
Before we have the report from the architect.
Okay, so an architect has been chosen? He is doing a report?
He's doing the report, and we'll present options based on that report.
Okay,
And
so-
that's about 2 weeks out.
Okay, so he will give us the scope, and, okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah, it should be available for next week.
for next debate, if you can get it earlier, that's great.
Oh, yeah, I'll send it out so we can study it for the next meeting.
Okay, so there's no action to take there.
If I could.
Sure.
Within that 2-week period, we'll have a full commission meeting coming up. If there's anything emergent about this roof that needs to be looked at, once we have that quote, that we could get it to the commission meeting, or does it have to go to legislative first?
It doesn't have to go to legislative, it would go to budget, and then to
I'm sorry,
commission,
sorry.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't think you can push it through, because, yeah.
I think we should have 2 weeks.
Yeah, I get it, and,
Yeah, and Eric Craddock, thank you.
but yeah, I think, you know, what we talked about that repair was, you know, give us a couple of months. So, you know, we're gonna be pushing that, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, good job. Okay, item C, we had a stolen roof replacement in the Draper House in Cottontown. And, you just heard Mrs. Finnegan, talk about it and their desire to keep the house. And, you know, this is a little bit of a gray area because she's speaking for the community, or at least the members of her group, the community. And it's no secret that I want to keep the house. I made that very clear.
What's the proper motion is we make to start discussing
I suppose it's a motion to discuss it.
So, no motion for action yet.
Well, we may take action tonight, depending on what the discussion leads to. So I'll make a motion to start discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Questions?
My question was, if, like, who steals a roof?
That's a new one.
I've heard that come through the email, and was it stolen, was it blown away in a storm? That's the weirdest.
This Finnegan has an answer.
Yeah. to me.
So, there are pictures in 2019.
I'm sorry, I'm suspending the rules.
So I believe,
Can I have a motion to suspend? Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, guys.
okay, and our history there's a couple who was looking at buying this property, went through and took very good pictures. And in 2019, the roof was impassively constructed. I mean, every nail hole, screw hole was perfectly lined up. It was a topic of, hey, this roof. Now, it's a peaked roof, and then this addition is a flatter section. The flatter section, just on the new addition, is what's gone. So it definitely was stolen. Now, I went through the house November-ish of 2022, and my recollection, there's a few of us, the roof was still on 2022. There's no way that roof blew off. Who knows?
So you say the roof is stolen, you come on, the shingles are stolen?
It's a metal roof, and again, it's a peaked roof, metal, very nicely constructed red metal roof, and then there's the back
The
section.
awning section or the flat
It's
section?
fairly flat, I don't know.
What's the section?
It's the kitchen, and basically it's 10 pieces of sheet metal that are 18 feet long.
Corrugated sheet.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
It didn't blow off.
I priced it, it was about $600 for the shed. Yeah.
So is this section that was added on to of the house?
Yes. Our intention is to really not, we need to secure the building so that there's no further damage. Our intention really isn't to save that back section.
I understand that, that's where I was going. Oh, thank you, here you go. So, I understood, could you go back to the red section, just let's see what it was?
This is where we targeted, right there.
Oh, okay. So, I've heard the intention was to keep the historical part and to do work that back section anyway. So that presents another challenge to us on, do we put a roof on something we're gonna tear it down? And how long could it possibly?
Here's the caveat, she was the one who informed me that the ceiling caved in. I went out there, and it was the day after the big wind. I thought it was blown off, but it was all gone, and I thought, well, that can't be.
Was it because of this, that's why it caved in?
Yeah, because it rained
So
right
right
through.
under it caved in.
Now, what they are proposing is they'll pay for it. They'll hire a contractor, they'll get somebody out there to replace the roof. They'll get somebody out there to lock the doors, or put the doors, locks on, and window locks. That's a legal question.
The problem with the third party doing it is liability the county could incur during the...
They would be willing to pay for it all, but the liability that the county would incur.
potential liability.
Could you sign waivers, could you make up some kind of form thing?
Could they make a donation specifically for the Draper House to fix it to the county, and then the county actually has to work that?
I don't see a problem with it, I don't know how donations are dealt with in the county, so I probably have to defer to the mayor on that.
I'd have to defer.
I see the county set up
Designate money, but we probably need to bring David Line and have the attorney.
So, they just, someone just donated money to the sheriff's department in our last meeting that was specified for $20,000 for something. I'm sure it can be done, so.
Yeah, I don't know the mechanism.
I don't know, Mr. Mansfield.
We would just need to pass a resolution, Old County Commission passed a resolution to accept money, it's called the Voluntary Tax Act. So if anybody wants to give more money than they're getting charged, they can do that, put it in the county coffers, there's a fund for it, that in the budget, at least it used to be, might need to be revived, but it would just be simple passage of a resolution that we needed to do that. So that's just a simple thing, budget, this happened before.
Would the resolution come with this?
Budget would have to write the resolution.
And will it count that they're proposing raise, fix the damage, or just put a roof on?
Well, I don't expect the roof to cost more than $2,000, and I think that's very conservative. It needs a new front door on the Draper House. I think all the other doors are there. Yeah, well, I don't know that, and I don't want to speak for you, I don't know that, you're talking about repairing the drywall and stuff.
This is just secure the roof.
It's just secure the roof.
Yeah, this is just secure the roof. I wouldn't do anything with the drywall either.
Okay.
Because, as long as the rules are suspended, yes.
So I've toured this house multiple times, taken multiple people there. This is what I do for a living. I've got multiple pictures of that door intact. I don't know what has happened in that house. I know that some people have said that they saw the person in a truck multiple times and was tearing stuff off of this. Kate Hurt, I believe, has said she saw it, so I don't know if she knows who they are. But this, obviously, that house was clean. None of that was there. I don't know who's been doing this, but I personally would pay to put up a security video camera until this is resolved, if it needs to be, because this is ridiculous. And I thank y'all for what you're doing, and we stand, of course, with Cottontown, but this is a very important place to the people, and whoever's doing this, I might go start sitting down there and catch them, because I'm done with red truck. A red truck, yes.
And, I mean, it had, in 19, it had HVAC, it had all the plumbing, everything. It was a fully intact house, and that's since 2019, that's what's happened.
So it's been built for...
It's been built for, yeah.
One more comment. I grew up in a house 20 times worse than this, where you could see the floor that was under the floor, and we were healthy and happy. I've been through this house, I crawled through the crawl space. I took a friend of mine down there at John's request, and he looked at it, and nothing is wrong with this house. There's no mold. This is what I do for a living. No mold, no fungus, no termites in that house. Nothing. It's 100-year-old wood floors, nice oak, big beams. There's nothing wrong with it, so it's worth saving. And I appreciate y'all for being willing to do it, but nothing's wrong with that house. It needs, and we're willing to pay to fix everything. Once some stuff is resolved, and remodel it, and make it for the community, all of us together. So just letting y'all know that.
Commissioner Brown?
You know, one of the things that you and I found out whenever we went and talked to people in Cotton Township, Cross, was that they used to dredge that creek.
And they quit doing it.
And they quit doing it. And that caused a lot of the flooding to happen. And that's something that, I don't know, your committee should look into is, if they dredged again on a regular basis, because Big Bend uses creek gravel on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And,
That was another thing, one of the women that we talked to was, who grew up in the house at Bug Hollow in 25, that is one that flooded in the last 10 years, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
She said it never flooded when she was a kid.
all that building up Bug Hollow has also contributed to it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think cleaning it out, but Mr. Mayor, who resists that? Or is that
Yeah, we would have to get, I can't remember the name of it, but we'd have to apply for it, it's kind of what they're doing down there.
TDEC has a permitting process to do that.
Well, probably to make sure that the bridal house stays out of water, since it's the lowest property, and anything else in that area, up Hollow, all the residents there, probably that would be an appropriate thing for us to do, is apply for that permit. So,
Can we make a motion to do that? That's what we done 6 months ago.
yeah, I didn't even know about it until tonight.
I've been told we couldn't do it for so long. I'd like to make a motion that we start the process to apply for that.
Okay, so we're out of suspension of the rules. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're back at, we are in discussion only, we have not made a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, you would like to make a
I'd like to make a motion to allow the Cottontown community to exercise their right with the voluntary tax act, then it's budget for the resolution. However, I need to say it.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I support the community, but I fundamentally have an issue with county property decisions being made outside of this committee. It would be like this committee making legislative decisions.
And so I can't get my mind around why that has happened. And
Well,
Can you speak to what you're,
Yeah.
what are you talking
the decision for, like, what to do with this property. Well, we started that discussion back months ago, and then we just stopped.
I'm not following.
Are you still going back to why legislature chose to save it?
Yes.
I mean, what's done is done at this point. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but I don't know that it matters.
From my understanding, you correctly want to start the project, get this thing fixed. We just want to bring it to budget, so we can approve it in budget next week and get this thing done.
I mean, I respect the Commissioner Wynn. If your question was answered one way or the other, would it matter to this process? Because I want to hear you out. Like, what answer would matter to you in the motion that's being made?
So, I think, I don't know, would this committee come to the same conclusion ultimately? I mean, I don't know if we can answer that.
Well, it wouldn't be proper to take a vote on something that's already in. No, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to know where you're going with this, that you may not have been in favor of saving it, therefore why are we going even further here with repairing the roof?
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment.
Okay.
Because I understand the sentimental attachment to the building, and it's a 30s building, right, 1930s?
It's older than that, I believe. Well, it's almost 100 years old, so whatever.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's on the historical register. I don't think that it is.
I don't know that the post office is, post office historical record.
It's built with modern day construction techniques, like there was vinyl siding in here. So I just struggle with,
I'm sure vinyl siding didn't exist when it was built, so it's
Right.
covered.
Right.
And whoever renovates it may want to go back to the wood.
Right.
I don't know.
and by all means, I mean, if citizens want to donate money to fix it, then, hey, that's fine with me. I'm good with that.
Yeah, and the reason I'm confused, as you know, Wes, is because I'm on the budget committee and I'm on.
Let's call for it, can we just vote if we're gonna fix this thing? Get it to budget next week.
Well, we
We
would-
have citizens out here that are willing to put money up front, let's start.
It's a fair point, but while it's in our hands, I think we're charged with protecting it because it's our county property. So I think that the motion is in order to go ahead and fix the roof, especially when that's the name.
Any other
They
questions?
may change their mind.
They may.
Will, but that's what we get for it.
Okay, call the question, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, so that was for the roof and the locking up of the doors in that.
While we're on that topic, Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? We had someone from the audience, Mr. Brister, volunteered to put some kind of a security that would prevent this from happening in the future. Do we need to make a motion to allow that? That's another gift horse that we could take advantage of, because I'm all about catching the person that keeps on doing this.
That's right.
And is it in order to make a motion to allow that, or is there a legal thing we have to ask our legal counsel here?
Anybody that on the property, you're taking some sort of liability, potential liability. And if they're gonna be putting in cameras, what's gonna happen with the cameras? Who's gonna ask you to look at the footage of the cameras? There's a wreck out there, but the cops need to get to the cameras. I mean, it's not just as simple as he just wants to go out there and put in cameras. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm the guy you pay to see the glass half empty, so.
Well, does this committee have any interest in taking care of the property and not allowing this to keep happening?
If this were done by the county under the guise to protect county property, there's no problem at all.
You know, there's there's also, we could rent a fence, chain link fence. So,
How much would it cost and who would monitor a cheap security, a ring doorbell, if you will? Anything that would catch people coming and going on this property? Ring doorbell's battery, once a month, that's what we charge.
It just sounds like what we just did with the roof, if we're gonna call this this donation, and then the county does it, it falls into the same category, so I don't know why you couldn't do the camera the same way. It's just, I wouldn't encourage the county to let third parties in to do this work.
Okay.
Is my only point.
okay. All right.
Would we suspend the rules to ask if they'd be willing to throw that in also? Yeah, but now it's not him doing it, it's him paying for it. Would it be proper? Would it be okay if we suspend the rules and have
Yeah,
it?
all in favor of suspending the rules? Aye.
Yeah, I mean, I have neighbors, they have these mobile, the police do it, they have mobile things, they have a camera on them at 10, 20 feet in the air.
But now the question to-
I'll pay,
Now the question is, would you be able to pay for it and the county do it versus you do it yourself?
well, yeah, that's fine. Just as long as it ain't like a toilet seat at the White House or something. I mean, what I'm saying is that it's gonna, you know what I'm saying, now that the county's doing it, is it gonna cost $20,000? You know what I mean? It's good. You know what I mean? Because, you know how the county spends money, you know, I don't want to, you know.
With a donation, I think it's proper for them to suggest what the donation is for, and we can listen to that.
I don't know why the resolution couldn't address the fact that it's dictated by what you receive in donations, and then it kills itself if you don't get the money.
Right. Okay, we'll come back in session, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Make a motion to add that to the roof. Is already a motion that we voted on for the roof?
Right, the roof's gonna be between security.
Did we already vote on that?
Yeah.
Motion to reconsider the topic of paying for the roof by donation. I need a second for that.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
We're in territory.
I make a motion to amend the previous motion and add into that donation, however it was written, the procurement of a camera system that is designated by the people that are donating the money to that resolution. Is that proper way to say that?
Good.
Okay.
I second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think that's it for the Draper House. Okay, the final one that I added is item D, the Henderson Health Department, Hendersonville Health Department. This was brought forward because the mayor had a discussion with the state, last week.
Yes, and basically, the portal's about to open, and we just need a decision, because if you're gonna apply for those funds for renovation, then we have to be able to commit 25% in the next budget.
Right.
And we don't know what that amount is, obviously.
Right.
We've got, I think we've got up to $2 million, a little over $2 million. And it seems to me, you don't want to build a new building.
Right.
So that's not gonna happen, so, you know, we need to dedicate the funds to renovate Hendersonville or not.
Yeah, I got some numbers from David Lawing this afternoon after, you know, going through your email. And so, what has happened is that there had been started to be a design for a new health department over by the Shackle Island Fire Department. There was a PO for $93,875. We have spent half of that on architecture that we would be throwing away. But there's still, you know, $53,000 and change that can go to this, plus there's the maximum of a $1.984 million grant that we would have to match in 2025. That would be a 75% grant, we would have to match the 25. To renovate the building, that the 4,000 square foot building that's next to the hospital is gonna cost way less than that. And then we'll have money left over, hopefully, for other things.
Well, no,
The grant is
yeah, the
done.
grant's specific to the health center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we stopped this the first session we had, and budget, maybe it was stopped in budget, I don't remember. Jeremy, do you remember where it was stopped? Budget, general ops. Budget and general ops, okay. And so, the truth is that the county is only required to have one health department in the entire county. We have three right now. We have one up in Portland, we have one in Gallatin, and then we have this smaller one, which is in a great location next to the hospital. That building's probably from the 70s. It needs help, but much less than building a new building. And with the number of people that I have witnessed on several occasions, and Don has witnessed, and several other commissioners, it's just not that busy. I don't think we need to do anything bigger. I think giving that a facelift personally would be a good thing to do, but it's just not that busy. And I would think that building would do the trick, and I would be in favor of a renovation.
Is there even room to build on if you needed to?
Discussion went around back a little bit.
Very limited. I don't think you can add.
Okay.
You can go up, but maybe limited on that.
This may take a little more discussion, so you're making a motion for discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Isn't that property owned by?
It's owned by the Board of Education, so I don't know that they'd even let you, the school campus there is very crowded, and I doubt they'll let you expand.
Are we leasing that from the school?
No, no.
They're not that big, they're
I don't-
When that building was built, they just allowed the health department to build a building there, and it's still not.
The only reason I brought that up was, because it sounds like we're looking to possibly get a quote and start the discussion on what do they need, what needs to be renovated. Is there things that they'd like to have more room for, or whatever? And in that discussion, this could all be talked about, but if there's no room to even do it, we shut that down.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a facelift and start that discussion.
I think Chairman Hyde pretty much answered the question, that question.
Yeah, so a renovation doesn't have to be like expanding footprint, right? So they're internal, within the four walls, it functionally in the space, it doesn't seem to work as well. Just the rooms are very choppy. It seemed like they needed more office space than what they really had.
Well, and this
So inside redesign would really be, I think, more optimal.
Make it more spaced out, is that
Absolutely,
way?
optimize the inside and just make it work more.
The cost will be enough, I'm sure, to require an architect anyway. I'm sure.
Maybe 25,000, 50.
50, and so, you know, if we move forward with this, when we get the architect, we can have Al Hendricks and his staff and the mayor and any of us, I suppose, go through and see what needs to be,
What that person's needs.
yeah, and the changes that need to be made. Mostly it just needs new flooring and a paint job and some, you know, new siding outside and new fascia and rain gutters.
But like you said, reconfiguring the walls inside, maybe a space saver, you know.
Commissioner Brown?
You remember when we went through that thing?
Yes.
The main thing that he was concerned about was the electrical costs. And when we got up there and looked around in the crawl space in the attic, we saw that the insulation was falling down between the rafters, and there was no blown insulation in there. That right there would solve a lot of that problem right there.
Right.
Because he said that there was more electricity used in that building than up in Portland and Gallatin, so.
Because it was built before
Yeah.
insulation was required. And that could all be part of
The renovation.
the renovation. And when we were there, and Commissioner Mansfield, Commissioner Brown, and Don, you were there, and I was there, we met at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. One customer in 2 hours. And they only had a nurse practitioner once a week, that's all they could get, so they weren't going to do business. Now, that could change, but they have a staff of about 10 there. They had a couple of nurses and bookkeepers because they have to keep documentation. So, here again, I'm in favor of renovating it rather than building a new building. We'll save a ton of money by doing that.
It seems like we're really far away from getting anything done, but can we start the ball rolling just by making a motion to start the quote process on that?
I'd like to make a motion, but before that, I just want to point out, I think it's important to note, that some people may have not heard this, or I believe it's in your district, that where they're proposing to do, your constituents did not want that in their area. In District 18, after speaking with some people, they asked me if we try everything we could to keep it there, because it was adjacent to the hospital, and they did provide a lot of services.
23 people.
So I think it's important, I'd like to see the ball rolling, and, put this thing to that too, and get something done for these people who've been waiting a long time.
We make a decision to go the renovation route, and then we go.
Yeah, I got a motion table for that.
Okay, so motion to renovate, second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?